Hey, what's up, everybody? I know it's been a couple weeks since I last got a message up, but this is a very important week for me to talk to you guys face to face. So, firing up the video camera and going at it. The first thing I want to do is I want to go over the results of the past 2 weeks. So let me do that quickly. Um, week 13, which was not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, we had let's see. I'm gonna go to the page real quick. All right. I beat Cody 82-73. David beat Wayne 115-61. Both those matchups didn't really mean a whole lot. In our matchup of the week, Walter and Mason went at it. At that point, Walter had a one-game lead on Mason in the David division. Mason closed that gap with a resounding 70-point win, 156-86. That got him a crucial beast, which, if you'll remember, that was his second straight crucial beast, as he got one in week 12 for a 158-point performance. So, needless to say, week 12 and week 13, Mason was really firing on all cylinders. Then we had Brad beat Jeremy 118-96. That was a big showing for Brad, but because he's out of playoff contention, that doesn't mean a whole lot. And then we had our other matchup of the two playoff teams, Chad and Al. Al wins 112-64. Sends a message there. Chad gets us. Well, I forget if I awarded Chad the Snowman that week. Let me check. He scored 64 points. Wayne scored 61, but I feel like I probably should have given that to Chad because his game was on a much bigger scale, as he's still trying to compete for a playoff seed here. Let's see what I did. Yeah, I give it to Chad. Just not a good showing there. A week before the playoffs start. So now let's look at week 14. This is the week that just transpired. Chad bounced back after a snowman performance by beating me by 20, which earned me a snowman, 86-66. Despite Chad's win, it's still not what we really expected from him. I would expect to see triple digits from Chad every week based on his lineup. This team really hasn't been performing at its full potential lately, though. So hopefully he'll fix that going into the playoffs next week. Cody beat Brad at 115-97. It's a good showing from Cody. In our matchup of the week, Al absolutely trounced Walter. This is the second straight week that Walter's been beat down in the matchup of the week. Last week, like I said, it was Mason destroying him by 70 points, and here Al handed it to him by 62, 155-93. So it's a combination of Walter's team not performing as it should, as we expect it to, and also just no D from Walt. Teams are just exploding on him. And another very surprising result, David scored 147 points on Jeremy, beat him by 70. I've never seen David score that high. Impressive showing, but given his 7-7 record, it's just a little too late. Too late. And then in our last matchup, Mason, an impressive showing against Wayne, 129-92. Mason in the past 3 weeks has scored 158, 156, and 129. So needless to say, he's hot going into the playoffs. He earned the #1 seed, and he's the team, as usual, when he enters the playoffs, that everybody's looking out for. Everybody's going to need to keep an eye on his squad because it's looking like, at the very least, he'll make it to another championship game. Wayne and I, given our losses, we finished at the bottom of the table with 4-10. Let's look at the standings real quick. 2 10-4 teams, one in David, one in Goliath. That's Mason and Al, respectively. They've been hot at the end of the season here, and then I feel they deserve those number one and number 2 seedings. And then our number 3 seed is Walter, 9-5. Chad's 9-5 as well, but he drops to the 4th seed, given Walter's higher point total. So our playoff matchups in that regard are looking. They're going to be Mason versus Chad in the first semifinal, seed 1 versus seed 4. Given the projection and how their teams have been performing lately, I'd say Mason's looking to be a lock to win that one. Maybe not a lock, but I'd certainly give him the edge. Chad's going to have to have a big performance, I think, to upset Mason's team. Then in the second semifinal, which is a rematch of last week, where Al won by 62, it's Al and Walter yet again. Maybe Walter's done some scouting, figured out maybe some of Al's weaknesses. I don't even know, but maybe he's going to have to change up something he did from last week because Al certainly had his number. But that's going to be, I think that's going to be our most interesting semifinal. At this point, I think it's going to come down to what quarterback plays better, Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. They both have decent matchups, but I think the Packers, once they get ahead on the Chiefs, will probably sit Rodgers, and that'll limit his fantasy upside. And in that regard, I think that Al will probably get more out of Brady and Gronkowski, who's been a man-child lately, and he'll probably take that semifinal. Those are my predictions. And then I say we see Mason and Al in the final. Should be a good one. In our consolation ladder, Wayne and I are squaring off at the bottom of the table. That's a real toilet bowl. I don't really care who wins, though I guess, just for the sake of team morale, maybe going into next season, maybe we can knock off Fozzie Bear, get a little bit of momentum going. But frankly, I have not seen it. We got David and Cody, seed 5 and seed 6. David was hot last week. I expect to see a little more of that over Cody's underachieving team. Then Brad and Jeremy at seeds 7 and 8. Brad had a decent showing last week. He just, ran up against Cody's team, who actually decided to show up, so that was unfortunate. But I say he beats Jeremy in that one. Now, on to our commissioner election, which I know you guys are all anxious to know the update on that and when that's going to transpire. I'm actually going to put the poll up for everyone to vote tomorrow, and you're going to be able to vote on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Saturday until 11:59 p.m. So there's going to be a 3-day window for you to cast your vote for the candidate of your choice, either me, Mason, or Walter. We are the 3 candidates that have decided to run, as you saw a few weeks ago. If you've been keeping track of the banter on the message board, we've been hashing out a few issues that are important to the league, most notably our keeper situation. There's been a number of proposed changes to our current keeper setup. I'm liking the sounds of a number of them. Feel free to cast your vote for the candidate of your choice based on their opinions in that regard, or just their general campaign platform. Obviously, you got to vote based on what's important to you. What I wanted to say is that, however, despite who is elected commissioner after Saturday when the results are in, that will not determine our keeper situation. I'm actually going to post a poll in the next maybe like week 15, week 16, that kind of lays out a number of options based on what people have proposed, and we'll vote on that, and that will determine our keeper situation for the next year. So what I'm thinking is I may first post a poll that narrows it down to do we want our second keeper to be a year-long keeper, or do we want both our keepers to be chosen right before the draft in the summer? And once we narrow that down, I'll put a few more choices, like do we want a keeper to slide? Do we want the second keeper to be limited in a number of rounds, like 9 through 16, or do we want it just to be from the 7th round, like we're doing now? Do we want slides and whatnot? So we'll narrow it down round by round, and just generally get a feel of what everyone in the league wants. So I just want to reiterate that despite who is elected, that does not necessarily mean that their proposed keeper policy is going to be automatically enacted. I think it should be a league-wide decision based on what we want to do. So that's how that's going to work. Remember, everyone cast their vote. If we don't get 10 votes in a 3-day window, I don't know. I guess I could extend the deadline, but I really don't want to have to do that. Let's just have participation from everybody, and I think we should have a very interesting election in the next couple of days. All right. I hope everybody is staying safe, and I'm actually coming home this evening. It is I'm recording this on the 14th right now at about 5 p.m. I'm leaving for Virginia Beach in a few hours, and hopefully I'll see a number of you when I get home. Maybe play some basketball. At the very least, I'll see you at church, and I hope everybody takes care. All right.